All right, hey y'all, we are live. It is Mike, Pro House Seller, here, making a video. I want to talk about the economy because a bunch of times, people I see people make a bunch of statuses and posts, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, Snapchat, going on about the economy, why housing is so high. And I just want to give a quick make a quick little video giving a quick oversimplified explanation on the economy and kind of how it relates to housing. But this could relate to pretty much anything. But me being a realtor, of course, I'm going to talk about how it relates to housing. And I'm using Monopoly pieces and Monopoly money to illustrate so I can make sense as well. So the economy pretty much is I guess what economy is essentially is just managing the scarce resources that we have around the world. How can we maximize the resources and split them amongst the people to be efficient and effective with them? So I guess to give a little history lesson, prior to 1971, when America was founded, we were on a gold standard. So being on a gold standard, that means that all the dollar bills, or I guess there wasn't dollar bills at that particular time, but gold and silver were the only legal tender. So in order to buy anything, you needed to give somebody a piece of gold or silver. So it got to a point where that started to become a little inconvenient. People just, didn't want to keep carrying the gold everywhere. So we started to use notes. But the notes still represented a piece of gold or silver. So if you had $1, that meant that you could go to any bank or whatever and redeem that dollar, that piece of paper, for a piece of gold at any point in time. So that's kind of what kept the system honest. So this hotel will just say that represents the whole entire economy, all the land, all the businesses, and all the services, everything that could be used, all the goods and services in the economy. And this obviously represents the dollars, or the pieces of paper, the money / gold / silver that's in the economy. So over time, as people become resourceful, and I guess before I move forward, being on a gold standard, that makes it hard to kind of print money, because today we print money, but I'll get to that later. But when you printed money back in the day, you had to have the gold to back it up. You couldn't just, today's day and age, we could just print money whenever we feel like it. But back then, prior to 1971, when you printed money, and this is pretty much any country really, if you printed money, you had to have that gold. So if you printed $1 million, you had to go dig that $1 million worth of gold out the ground before you printed that money to justify it. So over time, as America was going on, from 1776 up until 1971, people, were creating businesses, moving on with their life. And as more and more things, whether it's houses, businesses, more things entered the economy. So as more things entered the economy, more things entered the economy at a faster rate than money was printed, because, nobody wanted to really print money. You had to go dig the gold. So over time, things get added. And as I'm sure you noticed, the dollar bill still stays the same, but the things are being added. So that made things cheaper. So that's why, people from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they would be talking to their grandkids, they would be saying, wow, when I was younger, all these things were expensive. But their grandkids saw those same goods and services and saw that they were cheap, because the money in the circulation was still the same, but more and more goods and services were being added to the economy. So over time, so let's say this is housing, for example. If we were still on a gold standard, and if we had more people building houses, we would have more and more houses being built, but the money in the system staying the same. This would push prices down. But this would also still make us productive, because we have more and more things. So we would outsource these things to other countries, and more money would be added to the system, which would then in turn have us build more things, and therefore making the country richer, making the economy richer. So that's kind of how things were going. We're building things, outsourcing it, selling things to other countries, and more money's coming into the system. More and more real money. This is real money, because this is money that's built off the back. That's actual money, human capital, things that you actually had to work for, put blood, sweat, and tears into to make valuable. So this money that was coming into America in the beginning in the beginning, when we were doing the right things, we were getting money from other countries. They were building, making their goods and services, having their money, giving that to us. And then in turn, we're sending some of our goods and services, our things, our stuff over to their country. They send us their real money. And then we use that real money to strengthen our economy, strengthen our military, strengthen our education system, make our economy better, improve on our goods and services and whatnot. So that's how things were going first. So that's why back then everything was so cheap and inflation wasn't out of control, because every time we got money, we had the things to back it up, because the money we were getting wasn't being printed. It was money being shipped over to us from other countries, whether it was gold or their goods and services. Maybe we were trading with them. So that's pretty much how the economy was working up until 1971 for the most part. There was a few shakes in there, a few depressions, a few recessions in there, but for the most part, that's kind of how things went. So here comes 1971. So let's clear all this out. So from 1971, we go off the gold standard. Richard Nixon takes us off the gold standard. And now this money, the US dollar, is not backed by gold anymore. It's backed by nothing. Everybody else's dollar bill is backed by the US dollar, but the US dollar isn't backed by anything. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by silver. It's not backed by real estate. It's not backed by anything. It's only backed by a promise from the US government that we will pay our debts to you in the future, at a future time. And simply, in my opinion, what that means is this money is worth it because we say so, and we got the guns to defend it if you got a problem with it. That's pretty much what it means to me. But it's a fiat currency, which is a currency by decree. It's a currency because I said so. So from that point on, the U.S. government is printing a whole lot of money, and I guess in another video I'll probably have a more detailed history as to how we got to this point. But pretty much right now we are off the gold standard now. So now we can pretty much print however much money we want in that sense. So now we have this stuff here in the economy, and we're printing money. So from 1971, we're not getting money from other countries, having it shipped to us anymore. Nobody's really, I mean, people are still giving us money, but they're not giving us as much money as they were in the past. So now we're getting money, or we're printing money. But as you can see, as I'm sure, as hopefully you start to notice, the money is being added, but the stuff isn't quite coming as quick anymore as it was in the past, because we're not using this money to be resourceful. Now we're just using this money to buy stuff. In the past, Americans, when we had our money, we would start businesses, we would outsource things, and we're still doing that now, but we're not doing that nearly as a fast rate as we were. As I'm sure I'm sure if you go look on something right now, you'll see it's made in China. China's that country now that's building their currency up, that's building their capital up and building their businesses up. So China today is doing what America was doing, back in the, 1800s and whatnot. So, whether China takes over and becomes the biggest economy in the next 20 years or so, 20 to 50 years, we'll see. But that's kind of what's going on now. So we're getting more and more money added to the system, but the things are still staying the same. So as you have, or things are being added, but they're not being added as fast. So, somebody might say, hey, Mike, but if we get to print all the money, we can print all the money and make more stuff for ourselves. Why can't we do that? Why is that an issue? And that's a good question. And politicians had that same question. So that's, and that became kind of the popular theory to some extent, whether reluctantly or, wholeheartedly. But that's pretty much what we did. So we're printing money, and we're making stuff. But as we start to print money, we print money faster than we're making the stuff. So let's say a year goes by and we have, $500 and one red house. And the year goes by and we only build one red house, but we print, $1,500. So now now you only have two red houses, but now we have $2,000. So now things become more expensive by supply and demand, because now we have more dollars, but it's going after a lower amount of stuff. Before, we had the same amount of dollars going after more stuff, so that pushes prices down. But as money starts to become printed and stuff doesn't become being built as fast as the money's being printed, we have more and more money. And that's been going on from 1975 up until where we're at now in 2022, 51 years. And 2020 was the big killer because people thought the stimulus package was really good, which it was in the short term. We had all this influx of money, but everybody's using that money to buy stuff. Maybe a few people are using that money to build businesses, but a vast majority of the people are buying stuff. So we have all this money going towards this minimal amount of stuff. The price has to go up. So people think that the businesses are raising their prices and being greedy, when the businesses are just playing the game of supply and demand. Everybody's playing the game of supply and demand. If you really want these things, all this money is in circulation now. So now let's say that's why all this money goes to the billionaires, because there's so few people making stuff. So if we had more people making stuff, it would somewhat balance it out a little bit, but we still have way too much money coming in, as opposed to stuff being made. So we'll get to a point where we'll have so much money, and the prices will be so high, it'll get to the point where this won't be sustainable. So now we're going into a recessionary point now. So this part illustrates a recession. Now we have all this money and we have this little stuff. Maybe we have a few hotels, a few greenhouses, maybe a greenhouse or two, but we have all this money going towards this stuff. This stuff is starting to become so highly priced that it's becoming unaffordable for the economy. So here's what happens now. And also what happens is, typically when money gets printed, debts rise. Whether it's companies or whether it's individuals, debts rise. So when the economy hits a crossroads, here's what typically happens, because this dollar is fake. It's just credit. So when we hit a crossroad, people have to pay down their credit. So let's say where we're at right now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have high credit card debt, or they got to make their car payments. They got to make, pay their mortgage and whatnot, their rent, all these things. So when people are paying down their credit, the money is actually leaving the system, because when your credit is up, that's not real money. That's just credit. It's owed. You owe that money back. It's not yours. It's not real money. You don't have the asset to back it up. It's fake. So when you're paying down that credit, the money is actually leaving the system, because now the money printer can't go as fast. They can't add as much money into the system, because all it's going to do is just push prices up and make things more unaffordable. So this is a big reason as to why the wealth gap is so wide, because money's being printed. So few people are making stuff. Most of the people are buying stuff as opposed to making stuff. So the few people who are making stuff, that's why they're getting all the money. And everybody who's, working for their money, they're using the money to buy stuff. Whereas the people that use the money to build stuff and make stuff, they reap the rewards, because their businesses, they start to have their own kind of money generator through their businesses as well. That's another story for another day, but this is just an oversimplified version of the economy. So as the economy starts to contract and we enter a recession, the money leaves the system. So as the money leaves the system, now these businesses, so it's not all peaches and cream. Yeah, maybe these businesses, these entrepreneurs, these guys were getting rich during all the time all the money was being printed. But a lot of times, these people they're not smart. They're not thinking long term. Everybody thinks it's going to last forever. The consumers think it's going to last forever. The entrepreneurs tend to think it's going to last forever, except for a few of them. So as the money is being created, the money's being printed, people aren't using this money now to go buy stuff. They're using this money to pay down their debts. Maybe they have credit card, like I said, credit card, mortgage, car payments, all that stuff. Maybe they owe somebody else a casino debt, gambling debt, whatever it is. People are paying down their debt that they owe people. So now the money's leaving the system. It's not going to the stuff anymore. It's going to pay down their debt. It's going down to pay credit accounts. Some people probably are so riled up to debt that they can't even pay back. They have to default. And that money just erases from the system. So now the money is just torn up and doesn't exist anymore. So that money leaves the system as well. So now the economy contracts. So as the money starts to leave the economy and contracts, the people that build the stuff, now they're not getting paid. They're not generating any revenue. So now if you're not generating any revenue, now what? Now you got to lay people off, which are the same people who are buying stuff. So it's like it's a catch-22. It's like a perfect storm of everybody losing money. So now these people that were building stuff, they're not making any money. Now they got to go out of business. So now they're gone. So now we're losing. So now in a recession, you're losing the money, the money, and you're losing this stuff. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to lose everything. Some stuff are still going to be around, and all the money isn't going to be gone, because even though it's fake money, some of the money is still real. It's just most of it is fake that you can't tell which is real anymore. But now when the stuff is leaving and the money is leaving, now people are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs. People are losing their homes. Businesses are going under, and it's a catch-22. So it's overall, some people might say it's good because things are balancing out, but politically and, kind of human nature, you don't want to see people suffer like that. So when people are losing their jobs, whether it's a politician, whether it's government policy, whatever it is, money tends to come back into the system because we don't want to see people go broke. We don't want to see businesses go out of business. You know what I mean? Because we want to keep the economy up and stable. So then things reverse course. So rates come down, and now when rates come down, more money gets printed, because when money gets printed, it's not real money. It's just people going into a bank and opening a line of credit. That's not money. You're opening a line of credit. So now the money's being caught in the system. The stuff gets built again, and the cycle continues. And the same thing happens. Wash, rinse, repeat. More money comes in faster than the stuff comes in. We hit a crossroad where we have way too much money, prices go up, and then the stuff goes away. And then the money has to go away because people are paying down their bills. People are losing businesses, so they're not getting any money or paying any money. And then the people print the money again because we don't want to see people, and it's just a catch-22. And we've been doing that so much to the point where we added more money and few stuff. And now we're at a point where we have so much money now. We have stuff, but we have so much more money where we may see a major crash. Hopefully not, but we're so levered up to where it's hard to not see that. Whether it happens this year, next year, 2-3 years from now, we don't know. But this is pretty much where we're at right now, where we have not a lot of stuff, but we have so much more money. As much money as we ever seen. In 2020 was a good chunk of that, all that stimulus. And this is pretty much relates to housing. We don't have as much homes being built, but we have all this money circulating, and all that is going towards housing. So again, when the recession happens, the money's going to stop being printed as fast. Maybe we'll see some homes being built, but we'll see the demand go down and homes are going to fall. So my suggestion to everybody is to make sure you're up to tip-top shape with your financial health. Make sure you understand where you stand in your career. Make sure your business is doing well. And if your business is going to go under, make sure you have some places to pivot, because we're definitely going to be in for a little rough ride over the next couple of years, I'm afraid. So this is my little monopoly model of the economy. Hope that made sense to y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with everybody. And we'll talk to y'all later.